The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Y'all ready for this?
Booyah! We are back. It is Wednesday, the first day of October, first show in October.
Yep.
October 4th, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which means it's time for another installment of Southern Nevada Sports News, coming to you from WWDBTV.com in wonderful Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Bill Miller, co-host, along with
Jeff Belknap.
And with us on the line, our co-host, contributing editor, man about town, Brett Price. Brett, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Pretty good. We're going to just get right into it, but before we do, I think by now everyone obviously has heard about, the tragic news from Sunday here in Las Vegas. What it may look like on TV is that this is, kind of a sprawling community, but it really is a relatively small community, and I am not surprised when I came in to find out that indeed some of the staff here and Jeff and Brett, I'm not sure, but know of someone who was there, and even someone who was wounded in this matter. I mean, needless to say, our hearts and prayers go out to the victims, their families, their friends, and their loved ones. This is it's an incredibly tragic event. You hope that these things don't happen. Sometimes they do, but I think that it is absolutely incredible how people have come together here in Las Vegas, and with the many blood drives that are going on, with people just doing what they can, and really kind of coming together.
Yes.
In this very tragic event, and again, our hearts and prayers go out, and I hope that it's the same. I received emails, text messages, telephone calls, even from people abroad that I do business with, just wondering, if I was okay and our family was okay, and so that people care.
Yeah.
And but very tragic event. So again, we didn't want to dwell too much on it, but obviously it was something that's a huge event here. And, unfortunately, going forward, you really wonder, if things will ever be the same.
Yeah, I know that, I see concerts going on in that area all the time.
Yeah. It's that time of the year, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some obviously you guys know, and some people that watch the show, I'm sure, know that, I do Uber, so I'm around that area on a regular basis. I do a lot of stuff at Mandalay Bay.
Right.
See something like that is this tragic, and there's so many different people online and everything downplaying it, and kind of just saying that it wasn't true. Like a couple of people told me it wasn't true, and I have a friend that works in at one of the hospitals, local hospitals, and she took a picture of the floor just of the hospital, and it was just just completely covered with blood. And talking to her, she's a nurse, and talking about how they were literally like skating through there because no one even had time to clean it up.
Yeah, just trying to get
people just through there. Yeah, so it's kind of disheartening to hear people like kind of downplaying it like it wasn't a big thing. And you were talking about how small Vegas is. Just to give you a little idea, you can drive through Vegas in about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
If there's no traffic, you can pull into Vegas and be out of Vegas in 25 minutes. So when you think about that, I'm from Detroit, and it would take several hours.
Oh, all right. I'm from
to get
LA.
through Detroit. Yeah, exactly.
And so you don't measure places where you want to go in terms of miles. You just measure in how long it's going to take.
Oh, that's true, because 10 miles could take you 4 hours.
Yeah, it's that crazy.
Happen.
But but it was just to hear from the doctors and just the support staff, the police, first responders, just the way that people came together, and that there were doctors that were coming in from southern Utah, California, Arizona to help out. And again, we're very we're thankful for the way the response.
Yeah.
Because it could have been worse.
Absolutely.
It could have absolutely been worse, but I think we now know, and Sheriff Lombard had mentioned that they have been, they have to practice for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And things really kind of came together. But we really wish everyone the very best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I saw today that I was impressed with, I didn't know, obviously, more information is going to come out, is the person that actually stopped it was actually a security guard, where he actually went up to the room and actually started firing through the door.
Really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
I guess one of the bullets struck the gentleman. I don't even really want to mention his name, but struck the gentleman, and then he consequently stopped firing, and then the police followed in, and he told them where to go, and they went in, and it was obviously done after that. But just to see the heroic people, the people that drove people to the hospital, took a bloody person into their car, and took them to the hospital. It's amazing.
Just to try and help other people, get out of harm's way if possible.
Right, and then the financial support that's come in. I mean, Sisolak set up that GoFundMe. I think it was a $500,000
Wow.
that he wanted to raise, and I think the last I saw was over $4 million.
Yeah.
That's come in. It's up to $8 million.
It's up to $8 million
now.
now.
They expect it to go to 10 before the end of the week.
Wow.
Yeah. I saw some of the lines at the blood centers for donations, and people, they weren't freaking out. They were just like, all right, well, however long it takes.
Yeah.
So. Thank you, for the people of Las Vegas. Thank you for the citizens of the United States and around the world who are, sending their prayers and then also sending their dollars into us to give us a hand.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Brett, are you there, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, man.
Barely.
Yeah, listen, I'm sorry, I know that you you were there and then you weren't, but hey, thanks for hanging in there, brother. Appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
All right.
One more shout out before we move forward. Obviously I do a little bit of work with UNLV hockey, and to hear one of the coaches was one of the people injured. Assistant coach Nick Rabone.
Yeah.
And it's just it's tough when I'm there at practice in the morning, shooting pictures and doing video and stuff, and I see them all out there skating around, and you just don't even realize that how close. I mean, not only that, but there were other coaches there. Anthony Greener was also there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just glad he's okay, man.
All right, well, good.
They're playing Utah, by the way, this City National this weekend. So
that's right. Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday. All right, guys. Well, listen. Let's get back to the show in terms of also why we're here. Where would you guys like to start? NCAA. Like to touch bases briefly on baseball.
Yeah, let's go baseball first.
Okay. The Yankees came through in their wild card game against Minnesota, but hats off to the Twins after losing 100 games last year to actually make the wild card and make the playoffs this year. Congratulations to the Twins. The Yankees, though, also congratulations to them. This is not a team that was even projected to make the playoffs either. And they won, and then their reward, of course, is they get to play Cleveland.
Yeah.
And which honestly should be a pretty decent series. Cleveland certainly turned it up in September.
Yeah.
And Brett, of course, you were, all plotting us all along, all 22 of those games in a row.
Oh yeah, they kind of the season for the Tribe kind of played out like last year, where they caught fire towards the end, and hopefully they can carry it just a little bit further this year.
Yeah, exactly. Because let's face it, I mean, it was the second half of last year where they kicked into gear. And it was just winning series after series after series, and ultimately, losing in a Game 7 against the Cubs. But again, they really weren't that big into the discussion until and what 22 games in a row will do as far as putting you in there.
Well, it'll also take you out of there. I mean, look how hot the Dodgers were, and then they went on that that horrible slump.
Just horrendous. And even now, I mean, I'm just I am not in a comfortable place at all. I'm looking forward to this time of year they're playing, which I can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah.
But there's the tonight's wild card between Colorado and Arizona. One of these guys is going to end up facing the Dodgers, and
4-0, by the way.
4-0 Arizona,
D-backs,
right?
Yeah.
D-backs, yeah.
2 home
And
runs.
they've had D-backs have had Dodgers number all year.
I think both of those teams have.
Yeah,
and 500 or under 500 against both of those.
Well, I'm glad the Twins lost because they've had our number all year.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, I'm hoping that they can turn it on. You've got a small group of pitchers that are going to be involved.
Yeah.
And as long as they they bring their A game and the Dodger bats heat up, I'll feel good about it. Again, it was a great season, but now is when it really counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, the other matchup is Boston and Houston.
Yep.
Yeah, and that is
That'll be interesting.
That's going to be very interesting because it looks like Houston seems to have got all of the pieces, to this puzzle.
Yeah, picking up Verlander, and I think he's won all five
of his starts. And I think that Boston has had a good year, but if they can't get a quick win in Houston, this may be over real fast.
Yeah.
And vice versa. I think that Houston can't afford to lose. It's all on them. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
They cannot afford to say, much like the Dodgers, they can't turn around and say, "Oh well, it was a great year." No, that's just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Indians winning 22 straight. I mean, it's a great, unbelievable accomplishment, but you got to get that. You got to get the trophy at the end.
Yeah,
to really solidify that as one of the best teams ever, type of thing.
Yeah, and the American League is pretty balanced.
Yeah.
At the top,
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, so any way that these scenarios shake out makes for really a wonderful pennant race. And I think that I'm a huge baseball fan. It's my favorite time of year. Even if I don't want to jinx anything right now. I'm pretty paranoid. But I still watch the games throughout the series because I'm a fan. I don't want to find myself rooting against someone as much as I'd like to, find myself rooting for someone.
Yeah.
And so it's easier if the Dodgers are, still around, alive and kicking.
Well, I'm a sports bettor, so I like to root against people. The funny thing is for the most part, I do pretty well. I finished the regular season about 85, I think it was 85 games over 500. And most of those are betting against people, most of my wins, because, I just kind of look at the matchups and I find out what's the most lopsided. And then I take
where's the weak link?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting. I don't have a dog in the fight, obviously. I'd like to see Houston make it, and that's nothing against Brett, obviously, but I think it's been a long time since the Astros have been there, and they've kind of went through their own stuff that earlier this year with the hurricane and everything, and putting all that stuff together. I really like to see them do something for the city.
Yeah, and the last time they were there was actually against the White Sox.
Yeah.
And that series, really, well, it was twofold. I think that Houston really were the favorites in that series.
Yep.
And lost, and lost badly. They were close, but they were still. It was a series they should have won. For the White Sox, it just drove people on the north side of Chicago absolutely bonkers to see that they raised the trophy before the Cubs did. Yeah. So there was a lot happening.
It's amazing to me, like how if in the same city people can hate on their teams that much, but I guess it's happening in LA right now with the football. So
it's certainly it's not like that with baseball in LA.
Yeah,
it is like that in New York with baseball. Between the Mets and the Yankees,
it's like one or the other. Jets and Giants, the same thing.
Yeah, there's no, they're almost like mixed marriages, in a sense. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty wickedly. The lines are drawn in Chicago. It's no joke. It's absolutely no joke.
It's amazing.
All right, so guys, let's see. The NHL is getting ready to fire up here very shortly, and of course that means our home team, which seems strange to say, the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
I think this is Vegas Golden Knights.
It's just a Vegas Golden Knights. Much like the Vegas Lions.
Yeah.
Okay.
See how they did that?
Yeah.
Copycatters.
Yeah, I tell you, these guys.
Well, I was watching. I use the Score app a lot to track my games and everything. And the first time I saw it on there, it said Vegas. I actually took a picture of it. I was like, man, that looks really good. I really like the way that looks. But yeah, they were supposed to have their fanfare tonight actually, and they canceled it.
Yeah.
So they're going to be doing some other stuff, and I saw them over there at the hospitals visiting with people, and really pouring into the community. And one of the players came out and said that they're playing this not for themselves or anything else, but for the city of Vegas. So I really appreciate what Foley has done, and just looking forward to get some games. I mean, I can't wait to get to some games, and I got my tickets already for the 13th game, which is against the Red Wings. So it'll be the second game. I missed the first game, but I'll be at the second game against the Red Wings.
And for the Red Wings, they opened up a new arena.
Yep. Little Caesars Arena.
Little Caesars Arena, yeah, right there in downtown.
Right downtown Detroit.
Smack downtown.
It's from what I've seen, I've actually seen the inside where they kind of fly around the inside. It looks like a pretty awesome stadium and a lot like T-Mobile.
Jeff, is that close to Comerica and Ford Field?
They're right down the street, exactly.
Okay.
It's right in the same area. There's a lot of restaurants and bars and everything right in that same area.
Okay.
I'm kind of wondering what the Raiders are going to do about that. Because in order for this to really work and be something, then they're going to have to do something around that industrial area.
Yeah, I suspect that restaurants, clubs, whatever you want to do it, are going to start popping up left and right.
Yeah.
And, it's how they built around the Staples Center in downtown L.A.
Yeah.
Suddenly.
Kind of like what they did with down in Phoenix, down in Glendale.
Yeah, they built a whole mall next to it in Phoenix. I like the way they did that.
Because, previously where, the Diamondbacks play and the Suns and the Coyotes was downtown.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it, and being there on business a few times, downtown Phoenix is like a town. Unless there's a game that night, people literally, it's like a mass exodus.
Yeah. I've actually stayed in that Marriott right across the street.
Yeah.
From the Sun Stadium. I don't know what it's called, but it was exactly like that. The game was going on. Everyone left. Right after the game, about an hour later, there was nobody.
The place is deserted.
Yeah.
There is no real nightlife or anything like that. People are either in Tempe, where the Arizona State University is,
right,
or they're in Scottsdale or Glendale.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I was really surprised that the area around where the Staples Center is in downtown LA, it used to be kind of like, it wasn't a rough area, but it could be kind of sketchy. But now it's you have.
Isn't it called LA Live around there?
Yeah,
that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, and it's it's and there's the Blue Line.
Nokia Theater.
Train. I lived in Long Beach, and I could take the Blue Line train from Long Beach, and it would just drop you off right across the street from the Staples Center.
Perfect.
And then just walk in there. You didn't have to worry about driving.
Yeah.
But but I'm I think that I'm really anxious to finally see a game. I don't have DirecTV, and I guess the only way you've been able to see preseason games here is if you had a DirecTV package of some kind.
Yeah.
So I'm really anxious to finally just see a Knights game on TV.
Yep, should be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of who the power players are, I guess once again it's the Penguins at the top. Ooh. And the Capitals. So they're the Penguins, of course.
Capitals will choke every year.
Well, the Penguins are there. I mean, they're clearly.
Yeah, I mean they got unbelievable star now. But,
well, I mean, it's the Penguins are kryptonite as far as Capitals are concerned. They could have the best record in the NHL, and as soon as they have to face the Penguins, that's it. It's lights out. But I mean, it's so hockey is here. The NBA preseason has already started. I don't think the NBA season actually ended. I mean, it seemed like it was just yesterday that the champions, Warriors won. Then they were just talking about it, and they haven't stopped talking about the NBA.
Yeah.
And now preseason has already
you're talking
started.
about all the players that are moving
all
around
the
and
drama, off-season drama.
$200 million contract for Westbrook and Dwayne Wade moving.
$200 million for Steph Curry.
Yep.
$40 million a year. I keep wondering if this is monopoly money. Or maybe it's like, it's not really money. It's not really dollars. It's,
Well, that a lot of people don't see is that those TV contracts that they have, they're so huge. It's just a massive amount of money that goes to each team.
Yeah.
Just from the ESPN and the Disney and all that other stuff. So it's amazing to me the kind of money that's being spent right now.
Yeah. So the NBA is firing up, and NCAA football last week. You guys want to touch bases on something that threw you a curve from last week's games before we get into the NFL?
Brett, you got anything?
Everything kind of played out almost according to plan. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that really surprised me last week.
Well, I wish I could say that about my picks, but yeah.
Yeah, there was one game that really hurt me. I bet a ticket on Friday I bet a 4-teamer, just kind of messing around, $20,
Right.
And the last game I put on there was Florida, -7, and the game gets a little out of control. So I took Vandy in the end game, plus 13.5. So I got a great middle. They score a touchdown. Vandy scores a touchdown with maybe a minute and a half left. So, but they have a couple timeouts. All I basically need them to do is run the ball, get a couple first downs.
Right.
So they go for it on 4th and 1. Florida does, and the guy goes untouched, 40 yards for a touchdown. The whole time he's running, I'm like, go down. And I'm like, just go down.
Fall down.
Because if he falls down, basically the game's over because they can't stop the clock.
Yeah.
But scoring actually gives them an opportunity because then they still have time to score a touchdown, onside kick. Anything could happen.
Right.
So, but he was a freshman running back, and he was not going down.
His parents are watching. Everybody.
I guess I do have one surprise when Troy beat LSU. That was a huge surprise.
Oh, wow, yeah, and
down there,
and another one of it was $985,000 that LSU paid. So for Troy, not only did you get the win, you walked out with some cheddar.
And that was homecoming for LSU.
Yeah, it's hey, listen, of course there is no more heat on an SEC coach, especially an SEC coach of LSU.
Yeah.
You can be an SEC coach in Vanderbilt, Kentucky.
Well, there's a really good chance that he's going to get fired.
There's a
especially
very
after
good chance.
They play somebody tough this week. They might take.
They got Florida. LSU got to go to Florida.
At Florida this week.
Yeah, they need a win, and they need one in a hurry, and they don't need a win against Troy, although that would have helped.
Yeah. Well, I think that we discussed Troy in the beginning, in the preseason when we did our preseason stuff, and it was across the board. We picked Troy to win that
Sun Belt,
division.
The Sun
You're
Belt,
right up there top of the Sun Belt.
So when you think about it, it's not like they lost to Howard.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's yeah.
Yeah, they lost to a solid squad. And that's unfortunately how it is.
Well, they were kind of adding up some of this, these wins this year.
Yeah.
You had, I think it was Middle Tennessee State lost to Syracuse.
Yep.
Right. Let's see. Texas lost to. Oh God, I forgot the name.
Maryland.
Yeah. Well, that really wasn't.
No, that's two power conferences.
Yeah.
Going at it.
But Maryland gave they're on their third string quarterback. Maryland.
Yeah, they're a mess right now.
Which is surprising, but they're getting 13 points.
I was surprised they went up to Minnesota
and they go into Minnesota
played as well as they did Saturday.
Yeah, they did. They played really well.
Yeah, and then they're predictable, but the one game that kind of I kind of thought, I wasn't hoping but it just turned out that way, was Washington beating USC.
Yeah.
USC
Washington
had been
State,
Washington State beating USC. USC has just been playing down to teams the last couple of weeks. And other than kind of, pushing around Stanford, they just haven't been going out and blasting these teams out of their socks.
Yeah.
And this was another instance where, Washington State is not a bad team. And
they're actually a really good team, and a couple of my buddies asked me, what's my upset of the week in college, and that was the game I gave them, and I really thought that they would cover, because they were getting 6 points. So I didn't actually take it on the money line, but I told people, hey man, that's a good money line if you want to take something. I think it was like plus 190 or something like that, but nice win by them. And the other game that I took a L that really upset me. I'm gonna give you guys both a scenario really quick. I'm adamantly against Arizona State's defense. I will bet against them every week because their defense is so bad. So, as you may or may not know, the running back for Stanford ran for 300 yards.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's got over 1,000 yards for the season already. But on the very last, there was about a minute and a half to go, and I just need a touchdown for the game to go over. I had over 60. And they throw a pass, they get tackled on the 3, first and goal on the 3, about 2:40 left. This guy is not even in the game. He's got 300 yards rushing. He's not even in the game. You're only up by a touchdown, right? So they get first down, they run, they got stopped. Second down, overthrown. Third down, incomplete pass. They kick a field goal. So now I'm still losing the bet. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So Arizona State gets the ball. The guy runs it back to the 40. So I'm like, okay. They need 2 scores, so a field goes out. They could do it.
Yeah.
They drive down the field. Guy kicks a field goal. And I was like, that might make it. That might make it. And then it just falls short in the end zone. So I had 2 opportunities to pull that out. It would have been a nice Saturday for me, but it's all good. UNLV covered.
Yes, indeed.
And they I was looking at the statistics for San Jose State, and I want you to catch these, Brett. They're in the 120s at rushing and passing defense. 120 and up. Like that means they're the very bottom of the whole
D1.
Yeah, there's only 10 teams worse.
Yeah. Or less, because one of them they were like 127 and 126. And then in offense, they're in 120s in both categories.
Yeah.
So they literally have the worst offense and the worst defense.
So it's
usually one or the other, but they literally have the worst offense and the worst defense.
On any given Saturday, it could just be a bloodbath. An absolute massacre.
So with that, we're going to take.
They've got to be close to giving up. It's like week 6. They have to be close to giving up almost 250 points.
This was a team and a school though. I think 5 years ago was on the cusp of dropping down. Yeah. And they may be headed back in those neck of the woods. I was glad to see the Bruins pick up a win, hard fought against those pesky Buffaloes.
Yep.
And again, it's I may be sending my resume in over to the Bruins because I think that head coach vacancy is coming. Hate to say it, but. And then, of course, to my buddies over at Nolan Transport Group, these are the guys that bleed, the burnt orange over there in Tennessee, Vol Highway, and they were all down there in their caravan, and I know if they weren't hammered before they got there, they were hammered afterwards.
Well, the team on the field got hammered.
Yeah, well, 41-0 at home.
Yeah.
And
it really wasn't even that close.
That's what they were telling me. It said, Bill, it wasn't as close as it sounds. Being obviously a bit sarcastic.
Yeah.
And of course, I said, look, man, I don't get me wrong, because the Bruins have given up chunks of points this year. So I was just glad to see a win come through. But there's some teams that are traditional SEC teams that are in trouble. I think that the spotlight maybe off of Texas A&M. If they get really manhandled by Alabama this weekend, then obviously it's already a hot seat as far as Summerlin's concerned.
Yeah,
it's just going to get hotter. If LSU again they go down to the swamp and they get really manhandled, it's and of course as far as the LSU brain trust is concerned, you fired the guy who's deserved to still be there.
Yeah. Well, I kind of missed that game with LSU. I mean, that's one of the ones that you really try to pay attention to and try to catch quickly. But basically, what it was Florida came out literally laying 5 points. I mean, I'm sorry.
Troy.
The line was 5 points in that game, or 2.5. I'm sorry, it opened at 2.5, and it quickly went to 5. And if you really think about that...
Oh, this is for this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And when you really think about that, it's kind of like one that you have to see because you know that people are going to bet it.
Yeah.
And you literally are going to have you could bet both sides and have a 4-point middle and just sit back and watch. So I kind of missed that one. I was kind of bummed out by it, but I guess that's what happens.
Okay. Well, let's, talk a little bit about the NFL this past weekend.
Okay.
Let me just pull up my scores here. Brett, did you take anything away from this past weekend's NFL games? It looks like Jacksonville.
Yeah, my Browns are still sucky. So
the good thing is they're making other teams look good.
Well, yeah, if you guys recall, I know Brett, you weren't there, but I was actually predicting a possible tie for that Cincinnati-Cleveland game. I took Cincinnati. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't crazy. But I thought maybe this might be the first tie of the year, but
I had a feeling that just the way the Bengals played against the Packers, they actually started writing some stuff, doing better stuff. So I had a feeling they were going to go and beat Cleveland, but I was hoping, but that's what we do in Cleveland.
You hope. Well, I guess the only, Brett, I shared with you my ticket that I had, and did pretty good with that one. But I basically just looked at those games and who can win, and ended up pulling off a 5-teamer. So yeah, it was a nice one. It was a good play. But some of the games that I saw is a lot of people talking down on the 49ers, 3-1 against the spread. They're not very good as far as winning the games, but they're covering the spreads.
The dogs have been barking like crazy in the NFL
the last 2 weeks. They just been
especially the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
Seattle was a big play for me in the second half. It was kind of a tight game, and I kind of felt like that they were going to pull it out. Not like I wasn't expecting for them to do it like they did, but some really good play from your Rams.
I still keep waiting for the bubble to burst on this. This is a team that couldn't scrounge up 14 points a game in offense.
Yeah. And
with the exception of the game against Seattle, which is always for them kind of a grind.
Yeah, their game, yeah.
Yeah, and Seattle didn't club them. It was 12-3, 12-9 or something like that. It was final. They are playing for some reason, and again, all you can point to is the head coach because none of the other parts have really changed. Goff is playing well. The running game, the defense is playing well. But
Gurley's a stud.
Oh my
God, Gurley's a stud.
Yeah. And I just keep waiting for something to go wrong.
Well, you guys remember when George laughed at me when I said he was one of the best running backs in the league?
Yeah.
And then watching him play these last couple weeks, he's really been showing.
He was having a great season until he got hurt, and then now he's just kind of coming back to where he was.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the Panthers beating the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it's when that game got tied up, I just knew that there was a way that New England was going to win this game.
Yeah.
And now I will hand this to the Panthers. They hung in there.
Yeah.
And I think they knew that there was no way they could take this game in overtime. This is not a team that you want to play in overtime. They just figure out a way to win. But Patriots have now they're 2-2 and both losses are at home.
Yeah.
And
it's not very often when you can say that Tom Brady wasn't the best quarterback on the field that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get a chance to say that very often.
Yeah.
No.
Their defense has just been playing horrendous, and
Oh, they're awful.
you know when you're
They play overs.
when you're having to play to the level that Brady has to play in order to win the games. I mean, that's a shame, you know. I mean, because they're really kind of shooting themselves in the foot.
And like my son was saying, welcome to Drew Brees' world in New Orleans. You know, Brees goes out there the idea that, hell, I got to put up 35 points here.
Speaking of Brees, Brady found Brees' old running mate with Cook this weekend finally, finding him. I think that's really going to help Brady since, who was it that got hurt? Amendola? No.
Yeah.
Was it Amendola?
Amendola's.
Yeah. So if Cook can fit in there, they're going to keep scoring points. They just can't stop anybody.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville, turns out they really do need to move to London.
Yeah. Jets were one of my plays. I like that one.
Yeah. And I just thought, I think they were still either jet lagged or they just just didn't take the Jets, for granted.
Well, Jets are actually tied.
A buddy of mine lost a 7-teamer on that game.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah.
Damn.
Well, that's what I hate to say it, but that's what he gets for betting Jacksonville.
That's true. But are you going to bet the Jets too?
Yeah. I actually took that one because I kind of thought that Jacksonville would be. See, this is the way that I've been looking at this whole scenario. I look at it there's so
I always
much.
thought they had the bye weeks when they came back from London's and stuff like that.
They usually do. It's either before or after. But this is what I've been paying attention to. When a team does something big the week before,
right,
the next week they lay an egg.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely destroyed Baltimore.
Sure did.
And I kind of felt like that was the reason why the line was where it was at, and I kind of felt like this is a good spot for the Jets, and that's why I took them. So it's not not anything like really super. I'm just kind of like paying attention to stuff like that these days.
Baltimore is not good.
So based on what I just said, I don't even know who they play. Houston would be a team to bet against. They score 57 points.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to be like, oh, well, here they go. They're going to be back.
Yeah.
And then they're going to take a crap this week. And I don't know who they play, but I think losing Mariota is huge for Tennessee.
Yeah, and of course,
Oakland,
you got Carr out, who knows, 2 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's, these are, two of the best young quarterbacks out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, for Oakland, it is time to panic. It absolutely is time to panic. They weren't playing well with him.
Yeah.
But the Buccaneers, my other team out there, the Bucs came back and beat the Giants. Giants 0-4, and guess what? They host the Chargers this week, also 0-4. So 0-8. Chargers.
Someone's got a break.
And who would have thought Week 5 the winningest team in New York would be the Jets?
Yep. They're tied for first place. Well, no, Buffalo's
in first. Yeah.
I like Buffalo. I mean, I think that they're playing really well, and they're kind of coming together.
Their defense is good.
And nobody really expected them to do anything.
So I'm looking ahead to this weekend. Houston's at home against the Chiefs, 4-0 coming in. KC -1. You can't tell me that game should be if they wouldn't have scored 57 points last week, KC would be laying 9. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because they scored 57, they're having this emotional thing. That point spread's way off. Okay. I can tell you that right now.
It's like the stock market, man.
Yeah.
Well, you guys,
demand.
Since we're on the NFL right now, who are you guys looking at in terms of your picks? Where to find that cheddar that's out there?
Well, I can tell you. I'll just go through mine really quick. I think the Steelers absolutely destroy Jacksonville. I think that the Giants have to win a game. This is kind of going to be a
who says who?
Honestly,
I was kidding.
They're the better team than the Chargers. I just really like Phillip Rivers, man. That guy he doesn't give up. He always keeps the team in the game.
Absolutely.
And it's never because you can honestly say it's never really his fault that they lose.
What's the line in that game?
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
This is, and again, it's going to be a white knuckle ride for Giant fans.
Yeah.
Because the specter of being 0-5.
Yeah.
is when heads start to roll. I mean, the drums are already pounding in New York. It's just not a place where an NFL team can afford to go. Well, a New York Giant team can afford to go on 5.
Yeah.
But so that's going to be a white knuckle ride the whole time. Panthers and Lions.
Really good game in Detroit.
Yes.
I just really like the way Detroit's playing. I can tell you this, being a Detroit fan, it's been a long time since I've watched them control the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's like sling, like just trying to stay in games. The last 2 weeks, actually the last 3 weeks, they've done a lot of ball control against the Giants. They kept the ball out of the Giants' hands. Atlanta did the same thing, and then last week again, there was like a 10-minute drive, in that game, and I was like, that's amazing to see. But Brett, I have to ask you this: when's the last time, we might have to research this, that the Browns have been favored back-to-back weeks?
Well, they weren't favored last week.
Oh, well, they opened as a favorite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, in the past 3 weeks, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and now this week, shoot, I know Bernie was probably slinging it around.
Oh, wow.
That's a throwback.
My goodness.
You just went 37 quarterbacks ago.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah.
Old Bernie was slinging it around.
I mean, do you think that they can beat the Jets?
No.
The funny thing is everybody was calling the Jets the worst team in the league up until the last 2 weeks. So I think that Brown's got to get off the schneid at some point. I think this might be their week to win.
Yeah, I do. I don't think this is going to be a 1-15 or 2-14 year. They just need to get that first one in.
I'm looking at these spreads, and I think that Vegas has hit these pretty good. I'm probably going to ride with the Niners again. I've bet them all 4 weeks, and went 3-1. Their lone loss was they lost 20-0 to Carolina in week 1.
Yeah.
Other than that, they played the games close, and they very well could have beat Arizona last week.
Well, you think
I don't know how people bet, but like this week is like an unbelievably great teaser week.
Yeah.
Teaser.
In the NFL, because like 11 of the 13 games are 3 points or less. So basically, if you take you're looking at Vegas is looking at close games, proximity to the spreads. So if you take all the dogs getting like 2.5, 1.5, 3, this and that, and you tease it 6.5 points, you're going through 2 key numbers. So those are great teasers.
Well, if you're going to put a teaser on there, I'll tell you right now, put the Chiefs on there. You can bet against the Bears too. Although the Bears, because they laid an egg in the previous week, they're probably going to come back. I mean, that's just the stuff that I've kind of noticed. That's
just the NFL, yeah. It's almost a zigzag theory.
I'm really kind of surprised that Oakland's laying points, even though they're at home.
Well,
against the Ravens.
Oh, because no Carr.
Yeah, they're laying.
Ravens are terrible.
Oh, listen, that just shows me how bad the Ravens are. Yeah, I mean, my goodness gracious.
Well, actually, their defense decent. I mean, that was the only game that they.
The only reason they won their 2 games so far is because I think they were like +8 on turnovers.
Yeah. Well, anytime you go +8, ask Detroit. I mean, the reason why Detroit they got 2 of the top guys that are leading in interceptions on their team.
All right. Well, listen, guys, before we get to the Dirty Dozen, let's get your college picks.
Okay, I'm going to roll through mine really quick. Brad, you got your notepad out? Okay, I'm going to take Colorado State and Utah State over. Both of those teams have proven that they can score points. I kind of like Colorado State a little bit, but I think the over is a better play. It's over 64.
Mm-hmm.
I like Miami of Florida at I think it's a late game that day against Florida State. Florida State, with their backup quarterbacks just having a lot of problems. I actually bet Florida State last week -7, and I sweated that whole game just to get a push, and I was like so thankful to get a push.
Now, but that game, I mean, there's so much history there.
Yeah.
I think you kind of throw out their records. And then,
I think Miami, Florida is just a better team this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do honestly think
and that's never stopped them from losing to Florida State.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. There's been some great games.
Oh, yeah.
I like Hawaii against Nevada. Hawaii's not. They got rolled, just steamrolled. I don't even know what the final was of that game last week. All I know is that they were down by 30 at the half against Colorado State.
Colorado State, yeah.
But
pack the bags.
Reno's really bad, and like George, are you listening? I just said Reno is really bad.
I told you.
You told me. Now he told me. Okay, so Fresno State against the worst team in the league. Offensive and defensively, they're laying 16.5 points. I just say lay the chalk. Probably take the first half. It'll probably be somewhere around 10. And then this one I liked a lot better until Sunday. But when I first saw the number come out, San Diego State, it was minus 9.5 against UNLV.
Against UNLV, yeah. Big game here.
I really like that, but with everything that's going on, I'm kind of rooting for UNLV to, just to kind of be able to pull it out. They're talking about having a lot of people out at the game, and I really hope that happens.
I do too. I really do.
Just speaking on just that, just to touch on something, just to show the unity. I know a lot of these high school teams are actually going to be getting together before the games this week, the high school teams, and doing some stuff together. So I just really like to see how the city's coming together. What do you like, Brett?
I hadn't really got the chance to look at it. I've been busy at work a little bit this week, but just on a glance, I'm buying UCF now. I mean, I just think they're really good. I've watched them. They're playing Cincinnati this week.
Not good.
Sitting around 17. I don't think Cincinnati is very good.
No.
And I think UCF might be the best team in Florida, if not 1A behind Miami.
Okay.
So I like the under in the Kansas State-Texas game, around 50. I like SMU getting the points in Houston this week too. Another one I kind of leaning towards is Louisiana Tech against UAB. That's sitting less than 2 touchdowns, which I kind of like. That's all I really glanced at. It really jumped out at me this week so far.
Okay, Dirty Dozen.
Dirty Dozen.
I don't know if we want
to know. All right, we'll give you the records real fast here. So, after we're going into Week 6 of college football, Week 5 of NFL, we got Bill sitting at 33-26
Okay.
after a 7-5 week last week.
Okay.
Jeff is 31-28 after a 6-6 week, and I am 34-25 after a 7-5 week.
Nice. All within 3 games. I like it.
Wow.
I'm still in striking distance.
That means I have to.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, I'm going to just put it out there right now. I'm riding coattails. I'm not straying too far. I'm not straying too far away from anybody.
All I know is I'm going 12-0 this week. Okay, let's go. Let's go. We got about 5 minutes.
All right, here we go. Big ACC game. Louisville at North Carolina State.
I'm taking Louisville. I think they're coming together and they're going to start just kind of separating themselves.
Louisville.
I am going with the Wolfpack, NC State. So, Big Ten game, Minnesota at Purdue.
Oh,
I was actually looking at that game. It's a close spread. I'm going to take Purdue. I don't know what – I really honestly thought Minnesota started really good. I watched that game on Saturday. I was not impressed with them at all.
Right. I was in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Purdue.
All right, I'm going with Purdue as well. I really like what Brom's doing there. SEC game, Arkansas at South Carolina.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I know you're going to take South Carolina. I'm going to ride Arkansas on that one.
I'm going with South Carolina.
I am going with the Gamecocks.
I knew you were.
Pac-12 game, Washington State at Oregon.
Oh, yeah. Washington State.
Yeah, I'm going Wazoo as well.
I'm going Wazoo.
I think
quarterback situation in Oregon is shaky.
Yeah, they're going to expose the Ducks this week.
Yeah, it's a real Jekyll and Hyde team.
Yep.
You never know what Duck is going to show up. Mallard.
But boom.
Going to get a goose.
Okay.
Goose is definitely.
Next game, FAU, Florida Atlantic at ODU, Old Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Florida Atlantic. I think OD is just having a little bit of struggles there.
Florida Atlantic.
I'm going Florida Atlantic too.
Across the.
They're just starting to come together. I think they're starting to buy in a little bit.
Yeah, they played really well in the past.
Yeah. Next game, Houston at SMU.
Well, you said SMU plus the points. I'm going to take Houston. I think that you're on the right track with SMU plus the points.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that they're going to win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Houston.
I am going to go with the upset with SMU.
Ew.
And the points. Take the points.
Ew.
Next game, Kansas State at Texas.
Ouch. Damn.
Jeez, that's
Last
a tough
time
one.
I've been on Kansas State, man, they just got. I'm going to go with Texas.
I'm going to take – that's at Texas?
It's at Texas, yeah.
I'm going to take the home team.
I'm going Texas, too. I think they're starting to pull stuff together.
Hopefully.
Last college game, Miami of Florida at Florida State.
I'm going with Canes.
I'm taking the Canes as well. I mean, that could be my big play for the week in college.
Yeah, I like Miami, too. Going to college, pro, the New York Jets at Cleveland Browns.
Jesus. I'm going with the Browns.
I'm taking the Browns as well. I'm actually going to ride out the Browns this week, and I think they're going to put everything together. And I'm going to call it out right now. They're going to score 35 plus.
Uh-oh.
Holy cow, Jeff. I think you just talked me into taking the Browns. I'm going to take the Browns, too.
All right.
Next game, San Francisco at Indianapolis.
49ers. They're due.
Yeah, I think the Niners are their defense is actually playing pretty well.
No, their defense is good.
Yeah, and just like I was saying before, they've covered 3 of the last 4. In order to cover this game, they have to win. So I'm taking 49ers.
I'm taking San Francisco, too. Next game, Baltimore at Oakland.
I'm going to go with the Ravens beat them. Yep. I'm going with Baltimore.
I'm going to take Baltimore as well. I mean, you can't be as bad as Flacco has been the past couple weeks every week. And I really think without Carr, that's going to be it's going to hurt Oakland.
It is.
I mean, we saw what happened to them last year when they got to the playoffs without Carr. They kind of were dismantled, so I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Oakland. I got a little more faith in E.J. Manuel than I did with Connor Cook. So I think it's going to be kind of a defensive battle. So
can't believe you're talking
under
about
you might get a good price on an under there. So last game, Green Bay Packers at Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh.
Man, I just had flashbacks of one of the best playoff games ever.
Yeah, last year. My goodness. I think Rodgers has just been consistent.
Yeah.
And this is no knock. I think it's going to be another really close game, but I'm going to go with Green Bay.
So without Adams, I don't even know who steps in. I mean, obviously, he might be out for a little while with the concussion protocol. Dallas, is coming together offensively. Their defense can be scored on. Obviously, I mean, the Rams put up, how many points? 35 points. The over is probably a pretty safe take on that one, but I'm going to take Green Bay, and I kind of hope Dallas wins because we need a little bit of separation with the Lions.
Get that separation. Okay.
I'm going Green Bay as well.
I mean,
they have a lot of similar picks this week.
Yeah, you're looking at the Lions, and they're basically about a foot away, maybe 6 inches away from being 4-0.
Yeah.
A stupid runoff crap call or whatever, but it's the rules. I'm only gonna say something if it keeps them out of the playoffs. Real quick, I took a Arkansas State Georgia Southern over today, 54 points. I bet it this morning, 22-17 at the half, 39.
Nice.
Okay.
Which is looking pretty good. I just need a couple touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in the second half.
All right. Do you want to send a shout out to the in-state rivalry of the year?
In-state rivalry of the year?
Yeah. Michigan State, Michigan.
Oh, Michigan State, Michigan?
Yeah. It wasn't certainly in California.
I actually was thinking that UCLA was playing USC this week.
No.
I don't really know how to. I mean, Michigan. It kind of feels like they're pulling it together, but then they just, they just are not putting people away. So, Michigan State played pretty well last week against Iowa. Kind of surprised me that they covered that game, but Iowa had a lot of opportunities they just didn't take advantage of.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Michigan State, Jacob, the lineman from Bishop Gorman, you guys saw.
Yeah.
That he committed to Michigan State. It's a big step. I'm kind of disappointed in him. I didn't want to, shoot out on Twitter or anything. But how do you go to little brother, Jacob? How do you do that? You cannot do that.
He's just following his grandpa.
That's right.
That's it. Well, guys, needless to say, we are down to the once again the end of the hour, and it has blown by.
Yes.
Folks, join us next Wednesday. It'll be the 11th of October, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And hopefully the band will be here. Brett Price, as always, man, thank you so much for contributing, the Dirty Dozen, recapping, and then just being part of the group. We really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Brett.
Appreciate it, guys. Just tell everybody, I just want to tell everybody, keep praying for Vegas and all the families that are still going through some tough times here.
That's right, Vegas.
Hey, man, you couldn't have said it better, brother. You couldn't have said it better. God bless everyone next week. Join us 6 p.m. WWDBTV.com. And again, say a prayer for us.
God bless.